Welcome to the Social Dialogue Podcast. We're a mother-daughter team, both working in the world of social media management.
Join us as we share our different perspectives on life today, including trends, fashion, friendships, and career, and how social media impacts it all. Together, we bring two perspectives to one conversation.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Jenna.
And we're excited to bring you this new episode of the Social Dialogue Podcast. Hi, Nina.
Hi.
How's your day?
3 hours of class, and I'm losing it a little.
Okay, before you lose it, I have a serious question. I'm having some trouble in the culture world, and I need your insight. So, last year I started watching Dancing with the Stars. Was it last year when Cody was on from Peloton?
No, that was like 2 or 3 years ago.
That was the year I watched. Okay, but now I want to watch again because Alex Earl is on, and I can't find the show. It's not on YouTube TV. Can you direct me?
Mom, it's on Disney Plus and it's on ABC. It's on YouTube TV.
When?
8 p.m. on Tuesdays.
8 p.m.
And I feel like this is such an obvious answer.
I didn't know. I couldn't find it, and I don't know how to search.
Go on their Instagram. It's right there.
Okay, look, I'm voting for Alex Earl. The end. Okay.
Do you know how to vote for Alex Earl?
Yeah, because it tells you on the TV, and then I put the text in, and then I vote like multiple times, right? Like 10 times. Yeah. So I know how to do that. Okay. Also, have you seen the latest about Taylor? I'm quite impressed that she said no to the NFL. I am not impressed with the NFL, who has said it's good. What did they say? Like, it's good exposure for you. Like, Taylor Swift needs the exposure.
She doesn't need exposure.
Yeah, break. Okay. Those were my 2 questions for you this session. Any questions for me?
Oh, the dogs.
They're fine. They're napping. They've had a lot of exercise today, and they got to text your brother on the phone, so that made them happy.
That's so cute.
All right, so I am very excited. I am so excited to introduce you to our guest today because I know you haven't met her before, but I am kind of, I get obsessed with the people that I've met through Dear Found Her forum.
Yeah.
And I am obsessed with Nina because she has a podcast that I started listening to, and then we had a one-to-one, and I'm like, what? Where have you been all my life? So I'm very excited. Let me tell you a little bit about her. So I'm going to read her bio, which is partly what she wrote and partly I added to it. Nina Badzin is a Minneapolis-based writer and podcaster with a focus on friendship. She's been writing on the subject for more than a decade, and she is also the host of the top 1% charted podcast, Dear Nina, Conversations About Friendship, of which I am a huge fan. The podcast, which she started in 2021, has been referenced and or featured in the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, Time Magazine, and a long list of other publications. This mom of 4 children is a powerhouse, and her episode about how to create a podcast, even though it was off the topic of friendship, was instrumental in getting the social dialogue off the ground. I've loved getting to know Nina, and I feel our friendship journeys have lived a parallel life. We both had a friend break up in college and years later reconciled back to the same level of friendship we once had with those people. When I spoke with Nina a few months ago, I shared with her what it was like to permanently break up with another friend after 28 years because the relationship itself was toxic and unhealthy. Nina talks about friendship in a way we can all relate to and doesn't come at it from a holier-than-thou mentality. Today, we want to talk with her about what she's learned about friendship, and of course, we'll get into how social media plays a role. Nina Badzin, welcome to the Social Dialogue.
Thanks for having me. It's so fun to be with a mom and daughter. And your matching headphones are so cute and inspirational.
We love pink.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, we're very glad you're here. So Jenna, this is Nina, and she knows all of our friendship stuff.
Yay, so nice to meet you. I love the idea of having, 2 generations, your different generations on here. And Shane, you and I are the same. So, Jenna we'll bounce off her. It'll be so interesting for me to hear her point of view.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about friendship. It's just such a complicated but also fun subject to talk about.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jenna is a senior in college, and Jenna has always been a fiercely loyal friend. As a little girl, she was at summer camp, through BBYO, in college. She has always been a loyal friend. Sometimes she gives more than she gets back. And she has learned that. I would say
the hard way.
But I think since freshman year, she's really figured it out. She is about to enter her next chapter after she graduates this year from college. So I'm curious, what are some of the tips that you would give? And I know you're not a therapist, but you are a writer and a podcaster who talks about friendship in depth. We would love to know your thoughts on some of the tips for as she's graduating, she's starting a new chapter, she'll be living in a new city. what would you tell her?
Oh, it's so exciting. It is the best time, full of opportunity. And so you are going to a new city? That's what you said?
I hate Kentucky. Hate it there. I'd do anything to get out. And there's no opportunities here for me anymore. Not that I'm there, I'm in my college town, but there's no opportunities in Kentucky for me anymore for what I want to do. And I love my family, but I wish I could just pick them up and transport them to New York, Chicago with me. So
Yeah.
I am just ready for something new. I've spent a summer in LA, I've spent a summer in New York, a semester abroad in London, and just there's so much more out there than just a small little town in Kentucky.
Well, what I'm going to tell you is no matter where you go, it is the time to start making friends based on your interests. And not just that you ended up at the same college. And obviously, you're going to have some element of you ended up in the same city wherever you go in this next stage. I mean, that is the first step. But all the cities you named for like Chicago, LA, New York, let's say, if you go in any of those are big cities. And one of the most important pieces of friendship, there's shared interests, but also proximity is really important. So because those are big cities, I would really focus on people who are really, really nearby, hyper local, because you're going to be hopefully working, busy with your day job. And there may be times that you do not want to hop on a train and go 45 minutes or really more likely an Uber or something and have to sit in traffic. All those cities are trafficy cities. It's not realistic to take some cool class. Like let's say you find a yoga class you like or something. Everything needs to be local, in my opinion, because proximity being one of the most important pieces of friendship makes it so that even if you don't have the best chemistry with somebody, if it's easy to see them, you will build rapport over time. It takes about 200 hours. That research shows it takes about 200 hours to form a close relationship. Many fewer hours to just have like a nice acquaintanceship. And you've probably seen that in your time. So in college, those hours add up very, very quickly because if they live on your floor, or if they live in your apartment building, those hours add up very quickly. But once you're not living with somebody, it takes longer for those hours to add up. And so now if you add that it takes 30 minutes even 20 minutes can be a long time to get to somebody, you're going to see them less time. You won't have as much time together. So finding somebody who you can spend a lot of time with quickly and easily, so those hours add up. So now not everybody feels like just a surface acquaintance, but it does take time. That 200 hours should not be daunting. It should actually be promising and uplifting because it shows that when you move somewhere new and it feels like, oh, no one really knows me that well and everything feels so surface. Yes, that is how it works. It starts out pretty surface and it only gets deeper over time. And I brought up the chemistry thing because the opposite can also be true with chemistry and proximity, meaning you can meet somebody and have incredible chemistry with them. But if it's impossible to get together because of all the different issues, they're in a different stage of life. Maybe you meet somebody who's 8 years ahead of you and has a baby or something, and their schedule and your schedule, it's just not going to work. Although I'm a big believer in mixed age friendships, but you still both have to have the same time free so that you can get together. So those are just some tips. Nearby stuff you are interested in. In Kentucky, the stuff that you have not enjoyed and you've only made yourself do because you're like, okay, this is what a 21-year-old does, so I have to do these things. For myself, I'll give you an example. I hate sporting stuff. I don't like games. I'm not a spectator.
Neither am I.
Okay, so we get each other. When I was an adult, I was like, I don't have to do that anymore. I actually chose a college that even before an adult, I personally chose. I went to WashU in St. Louis, like very not a sporty school. That was on purpose. Some people visit that school and won't go for that reason. I'm like, no, that's the reason I went. I don't want to have to put on some like little sports bra with my school name on it every week and drink all that. And I don't want to do that. But some people don't
love
get
that
to.
part.
Right.
Jenna
likes sports for the outfits.
Yeah. And I like going to the bars and doing all the things, being 21 in a college town. Last time when I went to the game, I sat there with a headache.
But okay, here's something interesting. You've discovered about yourself that you do like being part of like the rah-rah and like, so that's something you might do in your new town. You might go to a bar where they're showing a game, even for your alma mater. There might be places where people go and cheer for that team, or for the, new city you're in. And maybe you don't have to go to a game, but you can go where other people are watching a game and you know how to be part of that. You know how to join in on that kind of stuff.
I need a friend to explain everything to me that happens. Right now, I just tap my roommate and I'm like, what happened?
You just clap when they clap.
Yeah.
That's right.
Your point, Nina, is really good. And this is one of the things Jenna and I have talked about when she's deciding where to apply for jobs because her summer in Los Angeles was really fun. She had a great time. My challenge with a city like that is everyone's in their car driving very far to get places. Whereas my experience, my first city I lived in after college was Chicago. And I know you're from the suburbs of Chicago. I can remember all of us calling and saying, we're going to such and such bar, meet at the corner of Clark and Fullerton, and we'll all walk together. So that added to the time the girls were bonding before we even got to the bar. We were all together. And I think that makes a big difference in building those relationships. You know?
Oh, Chicago's a great town, and a lot of the Minnesota. So I live in Minneapolis now, and like, it seems to be the trajectory that a lot of the Minneapolis kids go to Chicago right after college, wherever they went. And eventually some of them come back, but a lot of them stay in Chicago. And then you're not so far from home, Jenna, too, because like LA is across the entire country. Although there is the weather issue in Chicago, that's nothing to
There's
laugh
weather
at.
issues everywhere.
Yeah. And the other issue with LA is we're on the phone together all day. 3 hours is a huge difference. Chicago, I can handle.
So I've always heard about my mom's former friend of 28 years. We call her Mean Girl. And it's weird because maybe I'm biased because I love my mom, but it's strange to think of like how she was not able to hold on to a friend, but she also was telling me how unhealthy this friendship was, and she still doesn't go into all the details because it was a long time older than me. So the question is, how do you know when it's time to end a friendship, and how do you know the best way? Like, when is it time to step back and work on something versus when is it time to close the door on a friendship?
So one thing my mom always told me, still tells me, thank God she's still alive, is that you can talk to somebody about something they did, but not about who they are. So not who somebody is, what somebody did, not who somebody is. And in the case of your mom and her friend, I mean, this was deeper than just one thing somebody did. And so in your own life, Jenna, if you're thinking of friendships where it's so much work, I always say friendship takes work, but shouldn't be that much work. Sometimes people talk about their friends the way they talk about a marriage. Listen, a marriage, you build a life together. You might have kids together, and especially if you have kids together, it is worth the work. And it does take a lot of work to live with a person for decades and decades. Friendship should be the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. I think it's very important. So, like, I guess the cherry's not the best metaphor because we don't necessarily need the cherry. The icing, life is very dry without the icing on the cake, if we're going to use that metaphor. And so we need the friendships, but you get to have more than one. You don't have to make it work. I really try to be practical with people like that. You do not have to make yourself nuts making it work with one friend just because you've been friends a long time. Friendship should be work, but not that much work. That's like one of my little sayings. And you should ultimately be friends with and stay friends with people you like. It should honestly be as simple as that. If you find yourself complaining a lot about a friend to your other friends, to your romantic partner, to your mom, if you're spending that much energy on it, it is probably time to step away a little bit. Unless, going back to my mom's advice, it's about a specific thing that friend did that you can talk to the friend about. Because I don't think it's fair to hold on to anger about something a friend did if you never gave the friend a chance to explain herself. That's just not fair. And as we get older, that's a huge thing to learn to do, is to give our friends the opportunity, just like we would like the opportunity if we've messed up, to explain why. Because sometimes people mess up and they have their reasons. You might not agree with their reasons. You might have handled it differently, but the friendship can be saved if you can hear the person out, and you might actually feel like, okay, I would have done it differently, but I understand how they came to that behavior. That's for situational things, though. If it's again and again and again and again, and you just like, I don't even like this person. I don't like who I am around this person. That's a big one. It's bringing out the worst in you. It is time to let it go. But to your second question, how is the best way? You're not going to like this answer. It's because it's not very helpful. There is no good way. I myself have done it both ways and had it done to me both ways, meaning I have been direct with the person. Let's say there's 3 ways. Being direct. You directly sit someone down and you say, or a letter or a phone call or something. I would not do a text. And you say, these are the things that have been going on in this friendship. Name your issues. I don't feel this is something that we can work on anymore at this point. These are the kind of talks that are direct. Very hard, and I've done it before.
It's not
Regret
easy.
it.
Confrontation sucks.
Yeah, especially confrontation where you're not looking for a resolution. It's very hard to sit someone down and be like, here are my issues, and I'm not looking to maintain this friendship. I mean, my God, that's so hard. And sometimes it's necessary, but very, very difficult. Then the most common way people refer to as quiet quitting. And that's probably the most advisable because it is the least hurtful, but it's not great for the person on the receiving end. I've been on the receiving end of that. I've also done it to others. It's very realistic. It's you used to text back all the time. Now you text back a little more often. They ask you for plans and now you're like, I'm free in 5 weeks. And someone who used to see more often will likely get the message eventually, but then they may come back to you totally fairly because you have not been direct. And they may come back to you and say, hey, I feel like you're pulling away. So you had to be ready to then at that point address it. You don't have to necessarily be direct with your feedback about who they are as a person, because again, we can't change who people are necessarily. And you may just say, I've been really busy. I have different priorities now, and they will be hurt. In both scenarios, the person's going to be hurt, whether you did it quickly and directly or quiet quitting, which is slowly. The third way, which I really don't advise, is the most cruel, would just to be ghosting. So people use that term with dating, but it's true in friendships too, that people just disappear. I've had that done to me. And I actually think it's the thing that inspired this entire friendship writing career. It's the thing that got me on this writing beat. It was trying to understand how somebody would do that. All three are hurtful. So that's why I'm saying there's not really a best way. Nobody likes to have their friendship ended, but it's still necessary sometimes. We still have to employ one of those methods sometimes.
Found that I knew I was nearing the end with that friendship when every time I saw her in my inbox, in my email inbox, I was like, ugh, what now?
Right.
Because
Life's too
those
short.
messages were always, these are all my problems with you. Like, these are how you're not being a good friend and making me the center of your universe. And I literally would see her in the inbox and be like, what now? And I did try to quiet quit. I didn't see a world where we would never be connected. So I did, and I was moving to New York at the time from Chicago, and I felt like we'll just sort of drift away naturally and find, but well, we've got history, so we don't have to completely. She didn't accept that, and she came at me and, wanted to know, why are you, and then I basically had to break up with her. She still walked down the aisle in my wedding, but that.
Wow, yeah.
That's a different story.
Yeah, but do you guys see what I'm saying? How it's,
Yeah,
there's not a great way, because
there's not
even
a
when,
great way.
you tell the person directly and it's not something they want to hear. If you kind of combo quiet quitting or ghosting, then they always have this mystery and they think they want to know. The only solution to knowing is being direct, which they don't really want to know. So you're sort of stuck either way.
And you really have to put yourself first. What is my priority here? Am I here to be in this friendship to make this person feel okay? This isn't working for me anymore. So you have to keep reminding yourself your objective. Why am I doing this?
Really good point. If you can avoid burning a bridge, I know you tried that with your friend Shane, but it didn't work. I do think that was the right intention. If you can, because if you live a long time, you never know where you're going to cross paths again. And a lot of times we do share friends and communities with these people who have been in our lives. So it makes it easier for other people who share you if you cannot make it impossible to be together.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was definitely fallout with a lot of people.
I'm sure.
So we are really focused on this podcast because both Jenna and I work in social media, me for many years and Jenna entering the career force in that world. We like to talk about how social media affects all of this. And of course, social media sometimes it can support a friendship. Sometimes it can get in the way of friendship. The first time I noticed red flag with social media, Jenna was about 9 or 10. She was in 4th grade. Somebody had a birthday party and it was on Instagram. And she saw it and I saw it. And I was so mad. I was mad at the parents for allowing this to go on to social media when not everybody was invited. These were 9-year-olds and her feelings were hurt. My feelings were hurt. And there was a lot of writing. I did a lot of writing about being inclusive. And, I still see these memes everywhere where people will teach your kids that it's okay not to be invited to everything. And I say, no. Teach your kids to invite more kids. What's one more kid? You know what I mean?
I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh, you can. You totally can. But that was the first moment that I was like, this is going to be a problem. I give Jenna and her generation credit. I think that their generation does a much better job of not being like, we're all out together and you're not invited. I think our generation doesn't always do that very well, even not just with our kids, but with ourselves. And so anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I think it's just a really tough touch point for me because of that first instance, and I just really never let it go.
Oh, I understand. I've been on all ends of this, both as someone who's been left out, who's probably being accused, probably even currently, of leaving others out. I have 4 kids, as you know. They've all been on every side of it too. I'm not being included, not wanting to have 50 people over to get ready before homecoming. It's like there is always going to be somebody who wants in, who can't get in. And I think it's easy to say, and it's not just you, the memes are on the other side too. There's the teacher kids they're not going to be invited to everything, let's say. And then there's the other side, which is teacher kids, there's always room for one more. There actually isn't always room for one more, not realistically. In theory, yes. How many cars are we taking at this point? How much space is there? I think of my younger 2 kids go to a charter school, and the lunch tables are round with 8 seats. There really isn't room for one more. There isn't. And it's better that those kids learn that they do have to find somewhere else to sit. Like there actually is literally not room for one more. That's different than when it's time to invite the kids over, but there's a lot of pressure on certain kinds of kids. I hear from this point of view a lot. People write to me. That's why it's called Dear Nina, by the way. I get a lot of anonymous letters. And I've definitely heard from the point of view of, it's really more coming from the parent, but they're writing on behalf of their kid, who is the very sensitive kid who doesn't want to leave anybody out. Most people don't want to, but some people are more tolerant of discomfort than others. So the ones who really cannot tolerate that discomfort of knowing someone else feels left out, or that kid's being pressured by their own mom, who's being pressured by the mom's friend to, can you make sure that Jenna, I'm just going to use Jenna's name because she's here. Can you make sure Jenna gets invited to homecoming? Or can you make sure Jenna gets invited to this? And so this kid now is like stuck being the person who makes sure that Jenna feels okay. It's a big job for an 8th grader, a 7th grader. And I actually think as parents, we need to stop looking at other teenagers to make sure our kids feel confident and included. We need to teach our kids to turn around and do the inviting. Like you plan something, you include something, you take control of your social life, and we are not relying on anyone else inviting us. We are not relying on anyone's mom friend doing a favor for our kid. You guys, it goes on and on forever. And what I think I'm seeing is the 11th grader who doesn't have, I'm going to keep using homecoming just because we're in the fall and this is like on my mind now. The 11th grader who all of a sudden is like, wait, I have no one to get ready with for homecoming. I have no one to go to pictures with. So oftentimes the person who's mom in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade made the phone call to say, can you make sure Jenna got invited for Halloween? Can you make sure Jenna has someone to go, to spring fling with? That kid was never forced to have the discomfort of realizing I am actually not in this group. They don't really want me. It's not like they hate me. They're nice enough. They let me sit with them at lunch, but they don't have me on the group text. I don't really ever know about the plans. I only know about the plans when my mom gets wind of it and makes sure I get invited. 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, even 5th grade. It starts young that we're like, I've had it too. Nice thing about having 4 kids is I kind of messed it up the first 2 times, then I relaxed a little the second 2 times because I saw that the groups change constantly. I was able to see with kid 3 and 4. It seems like these kids are all together now. In both ways. You think your kid's like included and comfortable? Sure, maybe this semester. It switches up real fast. They're not, or they are. And if they're not forced to feel what it feels like to be in an authentic friendship, they'll never know when they're in one and not in one.
Absolutely. And
That's
I
my
will
little
say,
lecture.
and Jenna will attest to this, I didn't get involved. I would sit and be mad, but
Yeah.
I never made a phone call. I would never.
I think parents getting involved doesn't help the kid because
Nope.
then the kid relies on the parent every time. And then what
Absolutely.
happens when you're in my shoes or my brother's shoes and you go to college and you're like, what are you supposed to do? Have your mom text a mom they've never met before? Like,
Which is
that's
happening.
that's happening.
Oh,
But like,
I'll
it
bet.
sounds ridiculous. Like, you gotta like figure it out yourself. Figure it out before college if you can. But like, sometimes kids aren't given that grace because their parents are crazy. But like, especially in
their
college,
parents, Jenna, their parents don't want them. And I get it because I've been there. I did it with my older 2. The parents don't want their kids to feel sad.
well,
Right.
obviously,
That's
whenever
what it
I'm
is.
But we
sad,
just can't fix it for them.
yeah.
But I'll tell you, one thing you said
yeah.
was about having plans. And I think you had this whole thing on one of your episodes. It had to do with people who don't have plans and they don't want to be the person making the plans. They want to be invited. And you said people who make plans always have plans.
That's
And I
right.
was
Even if
like,
it's with one friend to
brilliant.
watch a movie, now you have plans.
Now you have plans. Who cares who made the first move? Right.
Yes. Well, we do need to get to something you guys talked about at the very beginning. I don't want to, hijack your show, but You said that Jenna learned.
You're much more professional at this than we are.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, please.
No, but you guys, well, I'm basing it on something you said about Jenna. You said that Jenna has learned a lot, as we all do in time, about being the friend who really does more of the work. These are my own words, but I feel like that's what you were saying, that she's kind
Yes,
of, you've kind of realized, Jenna, that, and I think we should talk about that more because I actually have a lot of strong feelings that are helpful, I think.
Yeah.
They're sometimes go against the grain because you would think as like a friendship person that I would say include everyone, but you can see that I'm saying that's not really where the focus should be. Not that you're wrong. Of course, it's always ideal to be more inclusive, but only if you really want to hang out with those people so that the people you can release, like let's release people to actually make friends with people that want to be with them. So they don't waste their entire middle school and 9th and 10th grade with people who really don't want to be, they're not their friends. Okay, so enough of that. I also have strong feelings on what reciprocity actually is. And so I'm curious if you could tell me, it's an interesting case study. What does it feel like to you? What does it look like when you say you make most of the effort in certain things that you're thinking of?
I think that something my mom always tells me is like, you can't expect people to do what you do to them as much as you want to. Like, sometimes it's very frustrating when I feel like I'm giving more to a friendship, and I've kind of learned that, like, do they really want to be my friend if they won't even ask to make plans with me? And that's when I kind of learned, oh, maybe I need to take a step back. I need to figure it out myself, see if this friendship is really worth it. I don't like feeling frustrated at my friends, but at the same time, a good friendship has equal parts. So
I think I can help you with this.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm
you want
done.
to
You're good. No.
Especially you're at a perfect point in life to really think these things through because you're going to be moving after the school year and starting these new friendships. And like I said, it's such a time of opportunity. You get to do activities you like now, not things that you thought you liked when you were 18, but things that now at 21, are you 21 or 22? Are you still 21?
I'm 21 still. Yeah.
So things at 21, and my oldest is also 21. Although Jenna's not your oldest, right?
I'm the oldest.
You are the oldest. Okay. So my oldest is also 21. A boy,
Aw.
though. And he's very cute. You should meet him sometime. Anyway, sorry.
Yes, let's make that happen.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I know. This is going off the rails quickly. It's funny. New city. You get to choose things that you like now in your new version of yourself. And it's also a time to rethink what reciprocity looks like in friendship. Now, the answer to these questions might be no. And if that is the case, then you are right. The friendships aren't equal in the way you want them to be. Some people, like your mom said, good, these are my words, but I think is what your mom was getting at, are good at certain skills. And they expect their friends to be good at those same skills. But we all have different skills because we're different people. And I'll use myself as an example. I am pretty organized with my calendar. I pretty much always know what I'm doing and what I'm up to. So I think ahead and I'll look at my calendar. I'll look at October, for example, and I'll see that on a Saturday night, we really have nothing going on. So I will reach out to friends and make plans because that is something that's important to me and that I'm good at. I'm good at looking ahead, knowing what's on my calendar, but not everybody that's in my life is good at that, but they are thrilled to hear from me and they always say yes. And if they can't do that date, now I have forced them to think about their schedule, which they might not have done otherwise. They then open their calendar, find a different date and say, sure. But I might have been the one to reach out in every one of those cases. They are very good friends. They are good listeners. They are fun to be around. They are with me. They don't just answer questions. They ask questions back. They genuinely listen to what I'm saying, ask follow-up questions. If I was looking for those friendships to be perfectly equal, it would be I reached out for plans for October, they reach out to plans for me for November, and then I do December. And that we're grown-ups. For you guys, it would be more like this week, next week, the next week, the next week. I would have lost out on some really great friendships because I did do all the reaching out often. A lot of times I have certain friends I walk with. I'm always the one who reaches out. But we have great walks. They always say yes. They are genuinely happy to walk with me. It's a big part of my mission. Rethink what reciprocity looks like because I think what might seem like a problem in a friendship actually isn't. Now, it might be. That's why I started saying if the answer to all the questions are no, then there is a problem. Are they good listeners? Do they ask you follow-up questions? If they can't do the date you suggested, do they suggest a different date? If the answer is no to all of that, then we're rethinking. If the answer is yes, you know what? We actually have a pretty good time. They're really engaged when we're together. They give me ideas. They introduce me to people I never would have met before. They're always up for something. If I say, hey, want to go to a bar and watch the game? If I suggest things, they say yes. It would maybe be an unnecessary loss to let go of a friendship that was actually otherwise working. You were just mismeasuring what equality looks like.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on the friend. I think more now that I'm a senior in college, I think the reaching out and everything, I know which friends I need to reach out to more. I know which friends reach out to me more. I also don't have the time to put effort into friendships where people don't put in any effort back. It doesn't have to be the reaching out, but just no effort in general. Like, I'm not going to give an F about that now. So
yeah, I support that. No, I support that.
And she's got really good friends now. I mean, she really, I won't say she worked hard at it, but she
took a lot of time.
Yeah, she was very thoughtful about who am I going to invest my time in, because she has very limited time between classes and internships and talking to me 18 hours a day. So she's very thoughtful about it, and she isn't going to overgive. I think she has learned that lesson through college, and college is not just about academics. College is about learning life lessons like that. And so I'm really proud of how she's done that, and I love her friends. I text them.
That's
She likes them more than me sometimes.
I do not, but I do love them. I mean, they're
I think
wonderful.
Debatable.
I think I love them. I follow some of them on social, and they don't mind that I follow them, and they have such cute pictures. And sometimes
it's not just that she follows them; she interacts with them too.
She's a social media master, your mother.
I like them, and sometimes I'll see pictures of Jenna that Jenna didn't send me, so I get to see them on those people's Instagrams. So that's fun. I like to see you.
Jenna, I think you're perfectly positioned for your next stage of life because you've worked hard on your friendships already. I hear what you're saying, Shane, that she didn't have to work insanely hard, but you had to put some thought into whether this friendship feels good or not. Remember, I said earlier, you should be friends with people you like. Ultimately, when you're questioning whether somebody is worth investing in, that's the first place to start. Do I like this person? And then the second, and just as important, I wouldn't say it's second, it's equal. Do I like who I am around this person? Those are always the questions that we should be asking ourselves.
I feel like if we lived in the same city, we would be friends that would like be calling each other all the time, going to watch something. I mean, I feel like that we're just like meant to be friends. Well, Nina, we have taken up a ton of your time, and I cannot thank you enough, not just for your great conversation about friendship, but also all of your guidance on the podcast. I would not have launched it if I hadn't listened to that episode. It really was like, we can do this.
That really makes me so happy, because like that's the only reason that episode's there, is to help people, so I'm really thrilled. It was so fun to talk to both of you, and I wish you both a lot of luck on this really fun venture together, the two of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're on podcasts all day long, so I appreciate you joining us on ours. Isn't she great?
She's so sweet.
Yeah, I love her. You should meet her son.
Okay.
What do you have for me on social? What's your latest?
I sent you this TikTok about the anthropology rock, and I love it. I think it's so ridiculous and so funny. Just the fact that, like, of course it would be anthropology of any brand, just because they're known for kind of just eclectic stuff like that. I just think it's hilarious, and I think it's the best prank ever.
That anthropology is playing along with it. It's kind of like, that's what happened with Coke. Do you know this story?
What, Coca-Cola?
When Facebook was brand new, these two fans of Coca-Cola made a Facebook page, and it was like facebook.com/Coca-Cola. And these two people owned it. And this was back before you had a group or like you didn't have business pages. They just made like a Facebook profile, and it was all about Coke. And these two guys owned it. And Coke, I think I'd have to Google to find out the whole story, but I think Coke let them keep managing it, and they became part of the brand. I mean, it's great when a brand can get involved, but I love the anthropology stuff. I love that now somebody's like, look at these sticks. They're perfect, and they were only $1,000. We should try this on Dad. That would be,
we should.
We should totally do this.
Freak out.
Yeah, we have to when you're home. Yeah. He won't know it's a trend, so it doesn't matter. So thank you for sending that to me, because I hadn't seen it. And then I ran it by my friend Kiki, who was a geology major and is a 6th grade science teacher, and she already knew about it. She's like, this is fantastic. So
yeah. I love it.
That's been fun. Do you want to hear my social media Facebook group?
Obviously.
Special
highlight of my day.
This one was in one of your two schools. I will not name which one. But this woman posted that her daughter needed to interview a gynecologist for her reporting class. So she's a journalism major in a reporting class, and her daughter needs to interview a gynecologist. She's basically asking, does anyone know a gynecologist who will talk to my daughter? And one person, there's a bunch of comments because, these people engage these people. But one person anonymously commented and said, for her reporting class, they are literally trying to teach her journalism schools. Perhaps her mother shouldn't be asking for her. And I was like, amen. Thank you. A reporter has to know how to make an uncomfortable phone call and ask questions. That's what they do. So really, come on, you just can't do that for your kids. You cannot butt in. You cannot fix this for them. You just cannot. The end. Thanks for joining us on the Social Dialogue podcast. If you liked today's conversation, be sure to follow, rate, and share the podcast and keep the dialogue going with us on social.
Find us at The Social Dialogue on Instagram and Facebook.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Jenna.
Thanks for listening.